Welcome to our YouTube channel. I'm absolutely delighted today to introduce you to the wonderful Emma-Jane Leeson, who is author and founder of the Johnny Magory series, which is an amazing series for all children, which promotes them getting outside and spending time in nature. Emma-Jane is also author of the lovely book, which I have here beside me, Oh, to be a Tomboy. So I'll hand you over to Emma-Jane to say hello and introduce herself. Good morning.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks a million. So you have it in a nutshell there, basically. So I write books for little people. So that's pretty much it.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I love your story. I love your brand. I love how much you have gone on to be successful, especially as a self-published author, which isn't always easy. So that's been amazing to watch and read up about. So you might just give me then an overview of the Johnny Magory Company and the books and the fact that you've branched out a bit recently as well.
Yeah. So thanks a million. This is people are like your success or whatever. Success is measured in very different ways. But anyway, as I just said to you before the interview, I'm more so delighted that I'm 2 years self-employed and haven't starved and have still managed to maintain some sort of kind of nice life. So I suppose the whole company and everything was formed from a book that I self-published 5 years ago. So I wrote a story basically for my daughter, who's now 17, but I wrote it for her anyway, left it in a box for the guts of 12 years, and then kind of looked at it and went to do something because it was coming up to my 30th, and Mum had said, do not do something with your books basically to market. Self-published all the way, love being self-published, would thoroughly recommend it to anybody, but I think let me see, I suppose in terms of kind of my story or whatever to it, when I brought out the very first book, The Magic of Wild, and all these stories, by the way, are based on the stories that Dad told me as a child, told myself and my sisters, basically, but he just good old-fashioned Irish storytelling, but it was in a way that we couldn't wait to get outside and kind of go on these adventures and everything that he was telling us that this boy Johnny Magory was doing. And he always started it with that old rhyme, will I tell you a story about Johnny Magory? Will I begin it? That's all that's in it. And he kind of go on then and elaborate. So that's where it stemmed from. Wrote it down for Lily, scribbled loads of them down actually, left them in the box then, as I said, but then came out to self-publish. So I suppose I never had any aspirations whatsoever to write children's books. So I had my career that I worked really hard on, business background, corporate world, I suppose particularly HR is where I was. But kind of just wanted to get a book out for Lily, for Mommy and Daddy, for my friends. That was the height of it. But kind of said from the outset that I would do it and make it look as professional as it could possibly look. So I was really lucky. I got loads and loads of mentorship and really good advice from Dolores Keaveney, who is an Irish author, self-published woman and an artist. And she's just amazing. So if anybody has never looked her up, it's doloreskeaveney.com. Mm-hmm. And she's just a legend. I love her. But she, I suppose, really helped me in terms of you need to get an ISBN and you need to pay for an editor and you need to get a graphic, and everything. It's just things I didn't know you had to do basically. And then the same, I suppose, Benji Bennett was quite lovely as well. Any questions that I was asking him, he was coming back and pointing me in the right directions and where to go. So when I did get the first book, it was a case that I was delighted. Then somebody asked me, could they buy it? So the women in the office were like, oh my God, we know that story. Can we buy it? And I used to be mortified going, God, no. But I think though, the bit of confidence that I had in the book though was the fact that it was professionally edited. So that's my first piece of advice I'd say to anybody that is going down that route, is definitely to get an editor. And I use Aoife Barrett up in Dublin. And she's just amazing. She's the patience of Job. So would definitely recommend her. But so kind of my sister then was set up a Facebook page, and she runs online businesses anyway. And, she was like, you need to be doing this and talking about this. And I was like, I don't really want anybody knowing that I'm doing this. But I was bitten by the bug though. I went on and self-published another one. Then I went on to the Central Bank of Ireland for a while working there, got out another book. Then I moved to Kerry Group down in Kildare here beside me and, got out another book. And then I suppose it kind of got to the point where I think personally in my life, I wanted a bit of a change. I loved my career. I really did. I loved working in corporate world and all that kind of stuff. But the girls, my two girls were at the age, one of them starting in junior cert, and then the youngest was starting in junior infants. So kind of wanted a different lifestyle, but then always have come from an entrepreneurial background. Like my parents have always worked for themselves. My sister works for herself. My other sister does. So does my little brother, you know, so wanted to give that a go as well. And then set up the company basically based on these books. So that was a really long-winded answer to your very short question. I apologize. But that's kind of where it came from. Like, you know, I was just like, right, okay, when I have this, it's tested, it had kind of proven itself with over the course of those 3 books. So I was like, right, well, let's sit down now and make a business plan. Like, you know, because I still, yes, I do. I see myself as an author now, I think eventually, but at the beginning, I still didn't. I was just like, okay, those books take me 10 minutes to write. You know, like I could just fly through these books and they're really quick to do and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, but it was more so the business side of it. Then I was like, okay, I'm coming from this business background. If I'm going into this whole larky and I'm going to give it a go, I came up with a business plan, and I would really, really recommend anybody do like start your own business course or get on the mentorship programs that are out there and everything. There's so many supports. I know in Kildare, I know you kind of have a bit of a different story, like from your end of the country, but the Kildare guys were just phenomenal. Like they were such a good help to me, and it really did kind of help me frame it, make a longer term plan, like where am I going, the animation series, all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, so yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wow. What a great story. I could listen to you there speak.
Rattling on.
No, you're so, firstly, I can see such passion, you know, behind what you do. And that kind of energy is a little bit infectious as well, I'm sure, from people that have met you and worked with you. And yeah, what an incredible story, in the sense that I suppose it wasn't necessarily in an intention, and that you had almost a transition period where you didn't leave your job overnight, but I suppose there was something in you that, you know, backed yourself eventually. And, you know, you kind of had to invest when you talked about doing it right and getting all the professional services. That would have been a bit of an investment in yourself. And yeah, I mean, to see since 2019 going full time, you've done incredible with the company and with the brand.
Yeah. So, but again, like I attribute that. So yeah, I left my job, and this was the other thing. I didn't just flippantly go, right, so bye. You know, like, so like myself, my husband, we've got 3 kids between us and that, like, you know, so we did have to put in a good bit of thought behind it. But I stepped out of that role, but then I was still consulting though as a HR business partner then 2 or 3 days a week. So I'd set that up as well, because I was just like, okay, you really can't just depend on selling these books. Like, you know, like you're kind of going to have to kind of phase it. But I had also then set myself an end date, and I was just like, right, you're going to do this for like 3 or 4 months. But then that's it. You're going to have to pull the plug, and you're going to have to concentrate on this full time. And really, the massive push to doing that then was the Enterprise Ireland's New Frontiers program. So I had been on phase 1, which is, it's grand. It's just an awful lot of mentorship and help and all that type of thing and support. But phase 2 then is where they actually give you a bursary, so they grant you money. You know, like, so, and I got accepted onto that, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. So what I did then, I had that financial background. Like, you know, I was just like, oh, thank God. Right. So it was like not even pressure off, but I was just like,
some security.
Yeah, I won't starve. But what I did though with that mentally though was I started operating that I didn't have that money in the bank.
Okay.
You know, like, so I was just like, no, you're operating now, you don't have that there. And I was just like, and then anything you are using that money for, and I was like, has to be an investment in the business. They were kind of my moral grounds like behind it. So I didn't just use it as like salary or whatever. Like, you know, I was like, no, you need to get off your arse and work for your salary. You know, always have, like, you know, make sure that you have that money coming in, and think of ways that you can actually be making a decent amount of money on a weekly basis without having that. But just, I think it is definitely, there's some sort of placebo effect. It's like, no, you have that there in the background. It's like, oh, okay, we're okay then, like, you know, so go for it. But all of those programs over the last 2 years, so like New Frontiers, Enterprise Ireland was brilliant, and then the DCU Female High Flyers Academy, the Rhine Academy, it's just amazing. The Acorns one, you know, like, so I would say to people that if you are planning on going into your own business, like these network groups and Network Ireland as well, it's just been incredible. Like they're so, like, you need to be actually like allocating a part of your week to actually getting out and attending these meetings and meeting and greeting, because that's where you generate business from as well in the background. But it's also, you'll see somebody and they'll say just the littlest thing, and then it'll spark an idea that turns into something bigger in the whole lot, like, you know. So, and plus it can be quite lonely when you're on your own work, you know, like, so, but definitely the last few years, like, that's been such a help, all those supports, you know.
No, that's great advice. As you said, for anyone not just, branching out, past 1 or 2 books as a full-time author, but anyone thinking about business, just the support network. We find that ourselves, even within the group, we motivate each other on Definitely. The weeks that you might feel a bit, lacking the motivation or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
As you said, you just hear something from someone and it might just push you on that bit further.
That's it. And then I think as well to have some sort of accountability, like if you're in groups like this, it's just like, okay. And like, say if it's like writing groups or that kind of stuff, like, it's like, right, okay. So you're after saying you're going to have a chapter written by next week. Where is it? Like, did you do, but like, it's that whole thing yourself. Then it's just like, oh, I said I'd have that done. I get it down now and actually do it. Like, but yeah.
That's brilliant. And I suppose the thing I've noticed with you, one was obviously the professionalism of your books. The standard is incredible. Obviously, even the illustrations, like absolutely, 10 out of 10
is amazing. Yeah. Well, Kim does most of the Johnny Magory books. Don Conroy did one of the Johnny Magory books, and then Emma Healy did that Tomboy book, and they're just brilliant.
They're very, very good. The other thing I've noticed with you is your presence, not just on social media, but in the media as well. You've managed, for, let's say, a self-published author without maybe the backing of, a traditional publisher, you've managed to get quite prominent coverage across the media. What's your secret?
Well, I suppose I did all of my own PR up until last year. And like basically that was from like the tips and the hints that you pick up like off the different courses that I had done. So I had done loads. So like I know how to write a press release. Everybody needs to know how to write a press release. There's a formula there in the background. It's not that hard, like, and then just everywhere is always looking for good news stories anyway. So you also, then your photography is like really important, but for the most part, my photography is done on an iPhone, like, so, and my daughter, and I'm really lucky, she loves doing all this kind of stuff, but she like makes me like, if you sat up there, it'd look cool. And I'm like, oh God, I hate photographs. But anyways, you have to be willing to get your bloody face into the pictures as well. Like, so yeah, so like I did my own press releases. I basically like just sat down like over a couple of nights and like compiled my own massive sheet and list basically of all the editors that I wanted to hit, and who was in charge of where, and their email addresses and their phone numbers and whatever, and then doing PR drops. Like I think as well, like when you're an author, like you're like we have books, like, and they're a great way to like, kind of tell it, like, and it's not that expensive either, like for giving out a few, like whatever. So like doing PR drops, influencers and like people on social media, that's massive, like it's huge. But then I think when the business got to a certain point then last year, we were just so busy. So it was myself and Amanda in the office. Amanda's always, she's fantastic. But we then had to get to the point, I was like, I physically didn't have the time to rewrite my own press releases. So was recommended a girl then, Fiona Donnellan, who runs her own company, Sustainable PR down in Sligo, and have worked with Fiona ever since, but on an on-off basis. So we worked together for 2 months. Say I have a new book coming out for that. I'd create my wish list for her. So this was something she'd never had done before, but I was just like, hey, I want to talk to this person to be here and be there. And she was just like, Jesus Christ, okay, I'll try my best. Now I'm like, look, thoughts become things. Like, and she kind of works that way as well now. But I think people just have to remember that like everyone's looking for good news stories, and then like you can't just do one drop of PR in it and then hope for the best. Like, it's continuous. Like, so we have it on, like we do up a weekly list basically of what's going on, and PR is constantly on it. What influencers can we get out to this week? Who can we try? Like it's never stop doing it, and it is a full-time job. There's no two ways about that, but it's just pestering people no end, and you get somewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm constantly seeing you pop up, and I was, it's really good to hear. I suppose in a way you started yourself, and then you got to the point where you could justify, getting that help from outside, and that you see it as a very valuable part of the business, an integral part of the business. Because there's no point putting it all into the books and then not having your audience or new audience constantly growing. Which leads me to another question. So I know you're quite established in Ireland, you're quite well known. How are you finding trying to get into markets outside of Ireland? So like the UK and the US, what's your experience been like with those?
in the US then, so kind of like that was like the big thing, like especially when I left my job. So when I started doing it full time, I was like, hey, we need to get to the Irish diaspora, and we have obviously all of our research done and where they are and who they are and da 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 da. So obviously East Coast US was huge for us. So I went with on one of those like, trade mission. I was like, it sounds so naughty job, but anyway, I went with Clare Chamber of Commerce on this trade mission anyway to the US, to Boston. God, when was that? It was October 2019. It was October 2019 actually, yeah. So it was before everything kind of shut down. And that was great. So kind of got to know so much from a statistical point of view. Like we were brought around to different universities and brought around to different networkings and chambers and everything. So got a really good lie of land. And then I went to showcase then in the RDS. And from there then we picked up quite a brilliant few American stockists. But they were through, I suppose, the Celtic kind of, the Celtic American, like the diddly Irish shops, for want of a better word. So they became our stockists now as well. So then I got accepted onto a program then with Boston University, and basically we had 4 months marketing strategy then kind of done, like, from the teams over there of graduates looking to kind of branch out, which was brilliant. And then I had a guy set up and we were going selling and I was going over, and then COVID landed. So then I suppose we specifically pulled back because it's like just a nightmare with posting and things been damaged and taking too long, and then the prices absolutely went up through, like it's just crazy. So then last year I was just like, right, that's it. So I think come around June or that, we even like kind of had notifications up then that we're no longer shipping worldwide, and kind of thing. Like, so it was such a pain. There was a few of the stockists that we had in America looking for reorders and stuff. And like, I'd say probably 50% of them ended up getting destroyed. Like I just don't know what was happening.
Really?
Like for the airports, so we pulled back, but that's definitely something that is on the cards for next year again. And it is going into new markets and everything. But I think we have a lot of the groundwork done, although the environment has changed massively, but like in terms of kind of like what people are looking for, like we know who our customer is. It is the diaspora, like, especially for the Johnny Magory thing and everything. So just ramp it up again next year. The UK, by the way, is a market that I've never looked at.
Okay.
And it's something that I really need to. I think we're just always focused on the US. So it's like, I can go to the UK on holidays anytime, but I need a reason to be going over and back there, So yeah, anyway, that's definitely strategy for next year will be.
It's all ahead of you anyway.
Yeah.
When maybe, I think you sound like you had some momentum there behind you, and then unfortunately, if you couldn't get on the ground, it does stifle things, I suppose.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then that's really interesting about, like, well, obviously, the cost is just exorbitant. Even I find filling out the forms for the customs, and you have to wait around, and it's just not straightforward. Yeah,
no, it's a pain. So I think the only way to kind of do something, so I suppose I've always wanted the books to be guaranteed Irish, and it's just something that I really strongly believe in myself. So like our plan would be basically, we just have to find basically a holding house, so large distribution centre over there, send over a pallet or two of books, have them there, and then have somebody basically working for them, because these small orders going back and forth, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So and it's not sustainable either, nor is it economical, like, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to keep in touch with you about how all that goes, because I'm very, intrigued about, steps into the US market, just in terms of always kind of thinking of different ways, especially kind of trying to create a brand and link in with people over there. Yeah. So I suppose then the other question I have for you that I was really impressed with was around how you managed to have your books supplied in the Aldi stores.
Oh, yeah. So that, I still can't believe that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think you need to learn to just chant your arm at everything when you're in business. So the Grow with Aldi campaign was up, and obviously it's like primarily food. It's always been food, but I was just like, what the hell with it? So I chanced my arm, filled out the application form, and put in our nicest like product photography pictures and everything into it. And it was kind of ramping on, like, like, I appreciate it. It's Then anyway, they came back and they were just like, no, okay, so this is the first year that we're actually going to do and not just be food products. So we got basically kind of shortlisted for it then, and then it was the online pitching and the virtual pitching and everything. And and then just got lucky. So the buyer that I had, his kids already had one or two of the books. He'd small family, you know, like, and he knew the brand. And I was just like, oh, this is just brilliant. And then then we got on it's mad. Like, couldn't believe it when we found out. So yeah, that's
incredible. Yeah, congratulations. It sounds like you're very good at pitching anyway.
But again, that's something that had to be learned, like, and that's an art in itself. But yeah, there was what was I shortlisted for? The Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur thingy. I had literally only left my job, and then I got shortlisted for that. And Gavin Duffy, then from Dragon's Den, we had a day mentoring with him then through the Kildare Leo and teaching us how to pitch. So that was the first time. But then, like, I don't know how many like pitching like training I have gone through at this stage, and then every time you do it, they're like, oh no, you can't do that anymore, that's really old school. And I'm like, Christ almighty, what have I been doing it 2 years? You know, like, does it keep changing that much? But yeah, but it's fun. I've learned I love pitching now. I hated it with a passion. Like, I hated it at the beginning, hated it. And now I just love the fun of it. Actually, I don't see it as, because the way I look at it now is I was like, well, I didn't have it going in, so I'm just like, what's the worry? You just go in there, have a bit of fun, be yourself, and tell them, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. And what would be your top then tips for someone pitching who's starting out?
I think be natural. So be yourself, but there's a good bit of work going into it. So I think, like, it's kind of like writing out everything that you want to write out, and then cutting it in half, and then cutting it in half again, you know, like, and even just getting down to that 60-second elevator pitch. I think if you have that, you know, which is literally like who you are, what you are, where you're going, what you want to do, you know, that kind of thing. Like, and it's just remembering that. But to, like, I would write pages and pages, like, it's absolute tripe, most of it, like, you know, and then I'm like, right, so, and then it's just going back over it and preparing, like, you know, like, so you do have to prepare, but then just being as concise as you can to get it all into a short sentence. And then the main thing that I'm always told, and just notice, is like, slow down, talk slowly, which I never do, but
so it's similar to writing a book then.
Pretty much, yeah.
Same process.
Puking it all onto a page and then going, well, that's crap.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. Have you so just thinking of any authors watching this who are in the early stages, you know, starting out, and whether it be trying to get more PR or write the second book? You've obviously touched on some of it. What kind of advice might you have for the younger author?
I think knowing what your next challenge is. So, like, a thing that we would regularly do is like, what's the top 3 challenges at the minute? And like, we need, like, today I did my monthly challenges, and then the monthly, you know, what I want to do this month. So, like, you know, okay, so what do I need to focus on? You know, so is it I want to get out a second book, or is it I want to get more press on this current book, or whatever it is? Knowing what that is, and then just making a plan around it. Like, it's always so simple. As I think, like, if you're trying to eat the whole elephant, you're like, oh, you know, where do I go and where do I even start, or whatever? But it's breaking it down, going, right, what do I want to achieve this month? And then, you know, what are the kind of things in my way? And then really prioritizing, going, well, what would be the one thing if I did? You know, how can I change this a little bit? You know, so yeah, I think it's just knowing where you are to then start just piece by piece, and you get there. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day at the end of the day, you know, like, so. But anyone that is actually really starting out down the self-publishing route, get an editor.
Okay.
Like, miles, like, it's just, honestly, it's the best piece of advice that Dolores ever gave me. And like, I don't know, I'm sure, like, you know yourself, like, I look back at my original Johnny Magory books and I'm like, Jesus Christ, imagine if anyone had read these. Anyway, you learn.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And that's an exercise you do every month then with your challenges. Every month you sit down.
Yeah, but it's something I do, like, personally. So I constantly, like, have my little notebook here, and I purposely get, like, unruled notebooks, so I can just, like, kind of all over them, and they're inside out and there's stuff stuck into them and the whole lot. But yeah, I do it for like my own kind of personal goals, and then it's like the business goals then, okay, and what are we doing? And then I suppose, like, from the business point of view, so there's 3 of us in it now, so like, Amanda is brilliant, she does all the detailed stuff and she's deadly. So, and then Melanie has only recently started with this, but helping with social media. because she is young and she knows all about it far more than I do. But I suppose it's kind of from that longer term plan then. And even if there is nobody on your team, I still used to do this like a lunatic. But I was used to doing strategy sessions from work, and it's like, okay, well, what's our plan then for the, like next quarter, next like half year, next year, next 3 years, kind of, you don't have to have a whole lot in there, but it's just something to keep you going,
Focused.
like, and something to aim for. Yeah.
Yeah. And I read somewhere else as well. Do you write down the purpose and hang it somewhere?
Yeah, no, I do.
I like that.
I have it stuck up like on the wall right beside me, and the purpose is to basically get children outside and educate them on Irish wildlife and heritage. That's it. Like, so it's like everything that we're doing from the book's point, well, Johnny Magory point of view, I really have to remember, because it's so easy to get sucked into, make an online game, or, kind of do this because it's trendy or whatever at the minute. And I'm like, no, my whole idea is to get kids outside. And like, we're playing now at the minute with augmented reality, and hopefully that'll be off the ground in the next couple of weeks. But like, it's basically where you can scan the book with your tablet, and Johnny's going to pop up and he'll go around and he'll read it. But then it's more so then I'm like, that's fine. I was just like, we do have to blend technology, I suppose, and kind of that old school thing about the books. But I was just like, just really need to keep in the back of our heads, like, it's to get them outside and to help them learn in a fun way, kind of like, so yeah, have your purpose just plastered up there.
Yeah, just always to remind you, because I mean, when 20 things come up, as you said, you have to focus. You can only commit your time to certain things. No, I read that and I really like that idea. And then I suppose you've branched out, which I really like as well. So from the books, the brand, different products, as you said, you're growing your team. It sounds like you're doing it all. And then to top it off as well, you offer a course, which I really like, for other authors, how to self-publish like a pro. Yeah,
so that stemmed from the pandemic, really. So people have always been in touch asking, how do I do it? What's my next step or whatever? And I do not mind at all. So if anyone does want to get in touch, like, no bothers, because it's only from telling people, but it's the same like when I was starting with Dolores and everything. But then I had one woman in particular, Irene, over in Canada, and she's brilliant. She's always just been a fan of it or whatever. And she was just like, surely now you're teaching children how to write. So I teach children how to write and self-publish a book in 6 weeks. So basically we do a 6-week writing course with them. And then they submit their story to me at the end, and we make it look lovely, and we get them self-published then on the print and demand platform, and it's brilliant. And we still do that. I love working with them because their ideas are just the coolest things you would ever, like, they're just brilliant. But then it was Irene that specifically, she was just like, you have to be able to teach us all fogies, how to do it. I was just like, okay. And it's just like, right, leave it with me. So I tried and tested the children's model actually that we had running myself, and I was just like, hey, see if I can do this within 6 weeks, like properly, and with everything else that's going on and the whole lot. And so I did, and I did my first chapter book basically on the back of it, and I was like, oh, okay, it is doable. so now basically what it is I think this will be the 4th program kicking off now, and we've changed a little bit, but what we're doing is basically there's the 6-week course, and you learn the different modules, like from kind of like your structures, your characters, your settings, plot, dialogue, all that kind of stuff. And then I basically, there's another 2 modules on it now where we show you how to use print on demand platforms, as opposed to us doing it, because that seemed to be the biggest fall down then, because when we were doing it, people were then like, oh great, I got my first copy, how the heck do I get another one? How do I change it? And and as much as we kind of recorded stuff and everything, it just wasn't working. So on this one then, basically people will be doing it all themselves, but they still have the accountability. So every Friday we meet on Zoom and we check in and see how you're getting on, and the questions and answers and all that kind of stuff there, like, and it's brilliant. And then there's a private group as well for people just to kind of mingle and ask. You learn so much, like, as we were saying earlier, around kind of networking and people in the same boat. Like, it's brilliant. So it's so much fun. I love doing them. I especially love doing it with the kids, so I have to say.
Yeah, no, and you've helped a significant amount of children's books authors. I've been watching some of them on your social media, and I noticed as well with this particular course in September, you're tying it in that the book will be ready for Christmas.
Yeah,
which is good. So when do you think? So with Christmas coming up, do you, obviously, which is a busy time of year, when do you kind of start planning for that market or publicity? Have you started already?
So I think Right. So the difference being, so the guys that will do the program there, they will have their book for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's fine. And unless they're like really quick off the bat, but I will be saying to them on week 1, if you do want to go on and sell this book, you need to get your social media set up now and talk to people about what you're doing along the way, you know, like, but in terms of like kind of our Christmas campaign and everything, yeah, so we had the books finalized and ISBNs and the whole lot done by March.
Okay.
It's just mad. Like, mad. But that is, we've never been this organized, by the way, but that is because the O'Brien Press and Gill Books are now representing us from a sales perspective, to like stockists and everything across the country. So they obviously know the score. They've been doing it far longer than I have been, and they were just like, oh no, like, you know, we'll be meeting with the Easons and the Argosies and all that kind of stuff like early, and it's just getting it out there and knowing what you're talking, you know, like, so yeah, so we've been kind of, now when I say we've been ready to rock since we haven't. The Christmas book that's coming, this is our first actual Christmas book that was written donkeys years ago, like, but we had like kind of like a mock-up of the cover done. We didn't have to have the whole thing done, but it was just something to start approaching the shops with, you know, like, this is coming, it's on the back of this brand, it's, you know, like the other books have blah 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 whatever, like, you know, and like they obviously know it's subject to change. But then like today, then we actually sat up out there this morning in the office and did our 12-week plan then down to Christmas. So this is it, from this week onwards, you literally have 12 weeks until it's Christmas, which is scary. But yeah, and then we know what we need to be doing within each week and the whole shit bang, and when we're launching and where we're hoping to get to, and the big things coming up like Black Friday and blah blah, you know, like, so
wow,
yeah. But it's mad though, like, and over the last 2 years, without a fail, like, Christmas is the time you'll sell books, like, it's, which is great, like, you know, it's great to know it, I think, that it's coming up, you know, so like, I don't know, I'm just obviously some sort of freak, but there is no people like us. We buy books all year round here, like, you know, it doesn't have to be an occasion, which is, I would spend all my money in bookshops if I had the choice, but you know, it's definitely Christmas is when you need to be ready for it and start putting planning into it and knowing how your stock is, like, now, you know, like, and kind of, have you got like your packaging ready for stocking? Do you need to sort out like Fastway, or can you buy stamps up front with e-commerce on Post or whatever it is, like, you know, and just making sure you kind of have all that stuff ready to rock, and then have your social media planned on out as well, then, that, you know, it's like teasing of new book titles coming, or if there's no new book titles coming, then it's just like starting to just kind of build, kind of moving from a more just engaged type of social media to more of a product-based one, and, you know, just getting ready for the selling season.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's good to know. Sort of, you can be planning this 12 weeks in advance, where, you know, that gives you the best chance. But as you said, to have all your stock, because you don't want to be stuck leaving it too late and there to be delays with shipping for whatever reason.
That's it. And especially like things are still a bit like mad with like you know, like with COVID, but then like it's all this Brexit and all that kind of stuff. Like, so if there is anything coming from abroad that you need, like your envelopes or whatever it is, like, you need to know now, right, here's where we stand, you know, like, so, you know, kind of, and then it's, I hate forecasting. Like, I don't know how anybody does it for a living, but like, it's like, how many will we sell? I don't know. Like, and then of course you'd be like, I'm going to sell 10 million books. Like, you know, like, but anyways, obviously it's just like making sure that you don't go tying up all your cash in stock either. Of course. You know, like, just to
make it make an estimate. And I suppose if this is your kind of third year, you know, you're sort of feeding in figures maybe from last year, you're able to refine your plan from last year. You got that learning.
That's exactly, so like, we pictures of the board taken from last year that we'd saved down, so we printed them out today and kind of going something similar. But then last year we went into it not having a clue because of where we were, and then it's nearly like this year as well. Then I'm just like, okay, well, so much has changed now, you know, like, is there going to be such an online demand this year, or is it all going to be footfall in the shops? Like, you know, it's just,
or our shop's going to be open.
It's just, it's so hard. And like, whereas like my first year, the whole selling season was based around me being actually physically out and at market. So like down at Ballymaloo or at Gifted in the RDS, or, you know, like all the different Christmas markets that are out and about. Like, and then I'm like, okay, this year, now we're going to Winterville this year. It's brilliant. I've been asked to go down in Waterford, and we're bringing down their combi for the first weekend of when it opens and stuff like that. But other than that, like, there's no events. Well, there is some going, but then I'm like, I don't even know if we should book into these things. Like, you know, it's so hard to know, you know. But
it is, yeah.
But anyway, it's just you have to take a punt on it anyway. But then obviously not leave yourself that if nothing sells, you're not.
Of course, you need to. It's like you need to spread as wide as possible. Kind of almost assuming different circumstances. Yeah, like I mean, it is difficult to know where we are. Like, will things remain open? And obviously then, as you said, those markets, like, which is, I suppose, a pity, because I was talking to another author about that, and that was a massive way to sell books for them. I suppose the last question I have or topic for you, just with all your experience, is how important are Facebook and Instagram ads to you versus SEO? So do you kind of, how do you like spread your money or your time on those kind of things? Or is there anything you've learned for, again, authors starting out? Like, do you do Amazon ads? How do you spend your marketing budget?
Yeah, so we purely only spend it on Facebook and social and Instagram ads.
Okay.
So we tried with Google. So, and then, God, what was it? I was on one of them programs anyway, like there was kind of a Google initiative, like, like for startups or whatever, and it was through one of them. And we put, I think, like I put a good bit into it, and I was just like €200 or €300 because I was told like, oh, it'll be great. But then, like, it's absolutely not. Like, there's gazillions of books out there, and like you're never going to get ranked up above like Amazon or Eason's or like kind of thing, like if it's from your own website. So we purely only spend a marketing budget on Facebook ads, like, which is ultimately Instagram anyway, like when you're setting it up in the background. But yeah, like SEO then kind of from the website point of view is totally necessary. And it's funny though, I didn't see any kind of returns or any kind of analytics coming back properly on that until it was well up and running for a year, and then it was just like, oh, we're finally getting people hitting on this blog, and we're fine, but it was, again, as I said, like a year it was at that. Knowing all about it though is so important. So like everything we put up now is like keyword to the high heavens in the background and the whole lot, like, so you do need to know about it and everything, but it's not an instant return. So, but then what I'd also said to people then is like, do you even need a website, or can you just set up and sell straight away through Instagram shopping and Facebook shopping, like, which is basically, it's there, like, so yeah. But in terms actually of our budget, obviously we'll do it on ads, but then this is the first year then as well, then we're after putting aside the budget because we're not attending the in-person shows. We're after setting aside a budget now to actually pay for influencers, which will be the first time we've ever done it. So I don't know how it's going to work out. We've been very lucky. People have always just liked our stuff. Now, again, we would send out an awful lot of books, like, and then like once in the blue moon, somebody like, oh, and you're like, oh my word. Like Vogue Williams, for instance, like we sent that to her months and months ago, just totally chanced her arm, got like her agency address in the UK or whatever. And sent it over, and then like out of the blue one day she puts it up about her child and liking the legends, but kind of thing, like now it's just like, yeah, but over one story though we got so many sales out of the back of that. So then I'm like, okay, is it a case now, do we actually really try to pay it this year? So I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah,
rubbish, but again, I really put an awful lot of research into it because like they're so expensive, like, so
are they? Okay.
So it's a big bet, but I was just like, right, well, let's just try, like, and I suppose it's money that we had allocated for elsewhere. So I'm just like, okay, Grant, if we just give it a go, if we give, you're not in, you can't win, don't give it a go, you don't know. So
yeah. Wow. Well, it's it seems like you're always open to new things and always kind of willing to give it a go or chance your arm, as you said as well.
Yes.
Geez, Vogue Williams, that's incredible. Like,
yeah, so but yeah, there's always been like kind of that high end, like, like, and it's potluck, like, like you never know. But anyway,
you don't.
But this is the other thing I'd say to people, like, is like kind of research, like who would be like kind of like the dream person, like if they got your book. And like I still have, like, say for that Tomboy book, Pink, the artist Pink, like the singer, and like Gavanda and Valerie looking, they're like, okay, and I'm like, well, look at, I'm just putting it out there, and I'm just like, we'll have to surely be able to get like a fan mail address or something, and send her over whatever. But like that's obviously aiming way too high. But I don't know, like if the Kardashians are your people, like aim for them. you know, like all you have to lose is like a couple of quid, like
Yeah.
kind of on getting the book over or whatever, like, you know, so especially like, as I said, like books is such a like cheap form of marketing, like, you know, in comparison, say people that maybe make other products like, I don't know, like wooden tables or something. That's obviously a big thing to gift, like, whereas we can kind of get away with it cheap enough, like, yeah.
And you can kind of as well make it personal. You know, if you like write them a little note or sign the book or something, they're easily personalized.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
It's been such a great conversation. As I said at the start, I could listen to you for hours. Honestly, I find your energy so infectious. And I think you've not just motivated me for the day, but for the week anyway. Just with your energy, it's incredible. I think obviously that is, you know, maybe contributed to your success as long as, you know, along with a good team, you know, belief in yourself, backing yourself. I love the essence of your story is a story that your dad has passed on, you know, that you've kind of gone on now to pass on to, you know, many more children, not just in Ireland, but hopefully the US one day. And the UK, maybe, you never know.
That's it. I may expand my horizon.
You're right. And no, I really look forward now to keeping in touch with you. You've been very good with me, you know, giving me some tips and introduced me to some people as well. And I really appreciate that. There's an essence of definitely female entrepreneurship with you as well that I pick up, which is great. Yes. And kind of helping other people out. So no, do stay in touch. How can people find out more? And how can people sign up to the course with you if they want to?
Yeah, so the website is johnnymagory.com and it's JOHNNYMAGORY, spelled that way for the Americans. Mm-hmm. And then just Johnny Magory. If you just look up the hashtag Johnny Magory anyway across all social media platforms, you'll find us there. Yeah, perfect. And the course is there. The course is linked in there somewhere. Yeah, on your website. All links are in the bio and the whole lot. Yep. Yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant. Stay in touch.